Welcome to Simpler Bible, a daily journey to biblical understanding. We are in 2 Kings. We're about halfway through 2 Kings, and we're going to look at some kings this time, because that's what you do when you're in Kings and Chronicles. Remember that Kings and Chronicles both are covering the same kind of information. The reason we're going primarily through Kings rather than Chronicles is because Kings gives us the history of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So it tells us who the kings of Israel are. It also tells us who the kings of Judah are, whereas Chronicles only talks about the kings of Judah, the southern kingdom. And because of that, because Chronicles only talks about the kings of the southern kingdom, Chronicles sometimes gives us a little bit more insight into what's happening to those kings in Jerusalem. And I'll try to remember to go over to those places. But let's look at a couple of the kings today. We're in 2 Kings 13. We'll begin in verse 1. Says this: In the 23rd year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah. There's like three of these guys whose names are all similar, and there's Amaziah, and there's Azariah, and I always get tongue-tied. Normally, when I'm reading to myself, I don't read out loud, so it makes it way easier. In the 23rd year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel in Samaria. And he reigned 17 years. So remember, Israel and Samaria, also called Ephraim, all right? That's the northern kingdom. Israel was the northern kingdom. That's the nation of Israel. Samaria is the capital city, and primarily the kings of Israel were from the tribe of Ephraim. So all three of those names mean the northern kingdom. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and followed the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which he made Israel to sin, and he did not depart from them. Remember, Jeroboam is the first king of the northern kingdom of Israel. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he gave them continually into the hand of Hazael, the king of Syria, and into the hand of Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael. You might remember that Elisha the second, right? Elisha said to Hazael, when Hazael said, hey, is Ben-Hadad going to recover from his sickness? He said, tell him he's going to recover from his sickness. But then Elisha begins to weep, and Hazael says, what's wrong? And he goes, well, I know that you're actually going to become the king, and you're going to do horrible things to the people of Israel. And Hazael said, what am I? Just a dog who could do all these amazing things. And the amazing things were killing women and children and all this kind of stuff. So Hazael the next day kills his king, Ben-Hadad. And then Hazael, in this weird kind of ironic sort of, I don't know, it's kind of strange, Hazael names his son Ben-Hadad after the man he murdered. And so Hazael, Ben-Hadad, there's a Ben-Hadad, Hazael, Ben-Hadad, all kings of Syria in Damascus, wicked kings. There's so much information in the Bible. Don't feel like you have to keep it all in your head. It's really okay. Verse 4. Then Jehoahaz sought the favor of the Lord, and the Lord listened to him, for he saw the oppression of Israel and how the king of Syria oppressed them. Therefore the Lord gave Israel a savior, so that the people escaped from the hand of the Syrians, and the people of Israel lived in their homes as formerly. Now, we're not told really a lot about that, but it's kind of like in the day of the judges when God would give them a deliverer to rescue the people. Verse 6. Nevertheless, they did not depart from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, which he made Israel to sin, but they walked in them. And the Asherah poles, also remained in Samaria. For there was not left to Jehoahaz an army of more than 50 horsemen and 10 chariots and 10,000 footmen. This is a very, very small army, considering that in the days of Ahab, the army was 700,000. The army used to be 700,000, and now he's down to 10,000 soldiers. For the king of Syria had destroyed them and made them like dust at the threshing. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoahaz and all that he did and his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash his son reigned in his place. In the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah, Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, began to reign over Israel and Samaria, and he reigned 16 years. He also did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and he did not depart from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which he made Israel to sin, but he walked in them. Now the rest of the acts of Joash, we're not even going to talk about what this guy did, because he was wicked, he didn't do very much, let's skip him. And the might of which he fought against Amaziah, the king of Judah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Joash slept with his father. And then we come down here to the death of Elisha the second, right? Now, when Elisha had fallen sick with the illness to which he was to die, Joash the king of Israel went down with him and wept before him, crying, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. Now, I made this comment when we were back in 2 Kings 2, and I find this incredibly interesting. So in 2 Kings 2, remember, Elijah is about to be taken up into heaven, and Elisha is going with him. They cross the Jordan, and they're on the east side of the Jordan, and then Elijah says to Elisha, I'm about to be taken. And Elisha says, let me have a double portion of your spirit. And he says, if you can see me when I'm taken, it'll be given to you. And right then the chariots of fire and the horses of fire come, and Elijah is taken into heaven, and Elisha sees this. And he says, my God, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. It's an interesting statement that he makes when he sees Elijah taken into heaven by like literal, not figurative, but literal chariots of horsemen and the chariots of Israel and the horsemen. We are not told what the king is seeing here as Elisha is dying, but Elisha is dying, and the king says, my father, Joash says, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. And I think it's interesting that this is the only place we kind of see that language. So it was with Elijah and now with Elisha, and I'm wondering if the king saw something supernatural and amazing. Elisha said to him, take a bow and arrows. And so he took a bow and arrows, and he said to the king of Israel, draw the bow, and he drew it. And Elisha laid his hands on the king's hands. He said, open the window eastward, and he opened it. And Elisha said, shoot, and he shot. And Elisha said, this is the Lord's arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Syria, that's Damascus. The Syrians in Aphek you will make, for you will fight against the Syrians in Aphek until you've made an end of them. And he said, take the arrows. So he took them, and the king said to the king of Israel, strike the ground with them. And he struck the ground 3 times and stopped. So Elisha's in bed, tells the king, grab an arrow, open the window, fire the arrow out the window. And he says, this is the arrow of God's victory over Syria. Now take the rest of the arrows and strike the ground with it. And the king takes the arrows and he strikes the ground 3 times, and then he stops. And then listen to this in verse 19. The man of God was angry with him and said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times, and then you would have struck down Assyria until you made an end of it. But now you will strike down Syria only 3 times. So here's what's going on. Elisha says, shoot the arrow. This is the Lord's arrow of victory over Syria. And then what the king was supposed to understand is that striking the ground is how many times he would strike down Syria. And the king strikes the ground with the arrows 3 times. And Elisha goes, man, you should have struck it 5 or 6, and then you could have made a complete end of the Syrians. You've only struck it 3, so you'll only have 3 victories in battle. You won't make a complete end of Syria. So Elisha died and was buried, and bands of Moabites used to invade the lands in the spring of the year. And as a man was being buried, behold, a marauding band was seen, and the man was thrown into the grave of Elisha. As soon as the man touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood up on his feet. So that was a good day for him. Now Hazael, the king of Syria, oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoahaz, but the Lord was gracious to them and had compassion on them, and he turned towards them. And look at this, because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My goodness, we're still coming back to this covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That which was established all the way back in Genesis 15 is still impacting today what God is doing, because God is faithful to his covenant. So he would not destroy them, and he did not cast them into his presence. When Hazael, the king of Syria, died, Ben-Hadad, his son, became king in his place. Then Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, took again from Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael, the cities that had been taken from Jehoahaz, his father. 3 times, right, the 3 arrows, or the 3 smackings of the arrows on the ground, Joash defeated him and recovered the cities of Israel. Chapter 14. In the 2nd year of Joash, the son of Joahaz, the king of Israel, Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, began to reign. So now Amaziah of Judah. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoadin of Jerusalem, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. Yet, not like his father David, he did all things as Joash his father had done. But the high places were not removed, and the people still sacrificed and made offerings on the high places. Remember where the high places came from? We've talked about that a little bit before. The high places were the places where initially Samuel would make this circuit to 4 different cities, and the people would come there and worship, and they would meet with God. And those high places, when the temple was built in Jerusalem, were kind of done away with, but people continued to use them as places of worship instead of going to the temple. And so it says this, as soon as the royal power was firmly in his hand, he struck down his servants who had killed his father, the king, but he did not put to death the children of the murderers, according to what was written in the book of the law of Moses, where the Lord commanded Moses, fathers shall not be put to death because of their children, nor children because of their fathers, but each one shall die for his own sin. He struck down 10,000 Edomites in the valley of Salt, and took Selah by storm, and called it Joktheel, which is the name of the city to this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel. So the king of Judah says to the king of Israel, hey, let's fight. which is stupid. Like, probably he's thinking the northern kingdom is weak now. They're down to about 10,000 soldiers. Let's fight. Jehoash, king of Israel, sent word to Amaziah, king of Judah, a little thistle in Lebanon sent to a cedar in Lebanon, saying, give your daughter to my son for a wife. And a wild beast of Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thistle. In other words, you're a little thistle and I'm a big cedar. Why are you messing with me? He goes, you have indeed struck down Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Be content with your glory. Stay at home, for why should you provoke trouble so that you and Judah fall with you? But Amaziah would not listen, so Jehoash, king of Israel, went up, and he and Amaziah, the king of Judah, faced one another in battle, and Judah was defeated by Israel, and every man fled to his own home. So Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived 15 years after the death of Jehoash, the king of Israel. The rest of the deeds of Amaziah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles? And then we're going to come down here, and it says this in verse 21. All the people of Judah took Azariah, who was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father. Now, Azariah is also going to be called Uzziah. All right, that's going to be used interchangeably. It's not even close. And we're like, man, who is this guy? Who's this Uzziah guy? It's Azariah, Azariah, Uzziah, Uzziah, Azariah. It's Peter, and also being called Simon, right? It's Saul and Paul. These guys were known by two names. So he built these cities, and listen to what it says in verse 23. In the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, began to reign, and he reigned 41 years. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart from all the sins of Jeroboam. And so look what it's going to say down here, all right? About the Lord. It says in verse 26, the Lord saw the afflictions of Israel, and he saw that they were very bitter, and there was none left, bond or free, and there was none left to help. But the Lord had not said that he would blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, so he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam. So again, God is being faithful, even though the people of God are not being faithful. And then let's come back down here to 2 Kings 15. In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Azariah, the son of Amaziah, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 16 years old. This is the same guy, Uzziah, we talked about a moment ago. 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. This is one of the longer kings that we have. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and made offerings on the high places. They've been doing this since the days of Samuel. And the Lord touched the king so that he was a leper to the day of his death. There's more information about this in the book of Chronicles. And Azariah does some stuff that he's not supposed to do, and he makes some offerings that he's not supposed to make. He comes into the temple and tries to make his own offerings before the Lord. And as a result, leprosy breaks out on his forehead, and the priests rush him out of the temple, and he rushes out of the temple, and he's a leper till the day of his death. Jump down here to verse 8. In the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam, reigned over Israel in Samaria for 6 months, short kingship. And then verse 10, Shallum, the son of Jebesh, conspired against him and struck him and put him to death and reigned in his place. And it says, Shallum, the son of Jabesh, began to reign in the 39th year of Uzziah, king of Judah, and he reigned 1 month. So you'll notice this, we've got a 6-month reign, and we've got a 1-month reign. Neither of those are as short as Zimri's reign, right? Remember Zimri, he reigned for 7 days. And so then Menahem, the son of Gadi, came up from Tirzah. He came to Samaria. He struck down Shallum and put him to death. In the 39th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Menahem, son of Gadi, began to reign over Israel, and he reigned 10 years. And so this is all now when Assyria is about to start attacking the northern kingdom. We're going to go through several other kings. And you have these different kings in here, all these kings of Israel, and they continue to reject God. And what we are getting to is the northern kingdom is about to be destroyed. And so all of these kings of Israel, they're getting worse and worse and worse. We're getting down to the last king of Israel, and now the northern kingdom of Israel is going to be destroyed. God was patient with them. He bore with them. He saved them. He didn't blot them out. But now their sin has reached a pinnacle, has reached kind of this height. And so God is about to be done with the northern kingdom of Israel. A lot of kings. Look, we kind of have to just muscle through this sometimes and get through some of the kings. I promise you, though, it is setting up something crazy that God is about to do. And we have some really cool stuff we're going to look at tomorrow as we continue in 2 Kings 16 and 17. Join us then. Thank you so much for journeying with us today at Simpler Bible through another section of Scripture where we come to know and understand God a little bit better. Look, if you're brand new to Simpler Bible, we have all sorts of resources available for you. Go to our website, simplerbible.com, and there you can find these videos, you can find our podcast, you can find links to our social media, and you can even find a blog post with additional scriptures if you want to go into a little bit more study than we had time to cover in this podcast and video today. We hope that this tool will be exactly that for you, a tool. Not something that replaces your daily walk with God, but something that enhances your daily walk with God and helps you to know and enjoy Him more. Thank you so much for being part of this, and we'll see you again tomorrow.